The stars twinkled against the black void as 5 ships moved through space. It was the year 2157. These were human ships, and the aliens did not know about Earth yet. Commander Alan Wright stood on the bridge of the HFY Horizon, the biggest ship in the small fleet. He was a tall man with a serious face and eyes that had seen many battles. His gray uniform was clean and pressed, showing his rank with small silver stars. "Status report," he said, his voice calm but firm. Lieutenant Samantha Collins looked up from her station. Her red hair was tied back, and her green eyes showed worry. "Sir, we're approaching the edge of unknown space. Our sensors detect artificial signals ahead." Alan nodded. "This is why we came. Humanity needs to know if we are alone or not." He turned to his crew of 50 people on the bridge. "Remember our mission. We seek peace and friendship with any beings we meet." The 5 ships carried Earth's best technology. Their shields were special, made with a new science that bent light and energy. Their engines used gravity itself to move faster than anyone thought possible. 300 men and women served on these ships, all chosen for their skills and courage. The HFY Horizon, HFY Eagle, HFY Voyager, HFY Pioneer, and HFY Discovery formed a V-shape as they moved forward. They carried messages of peace in many forms: pictures, math symbols, and simple words that any smart being might understand. "Commander, ships ahead," shouted Officer Jack Miller from the radar station. His voice was tense. On the main screen, 3 strange ships appeared. They were purple and black, with shapes like giant insects. They moved fast toward the human fleet. "Open communication channels," ordered Alan. "All languages, all frequencies." Samantha worked quickly at her station. "Channel open, sir. Sending our first contact package." The human message went out. It showed Earth, humans standing with open hands, and basic math to show intelligence. It was designed to say, "We come in peace. We wish to talk." The alien ships did not slow down. "Sir, they're charging weapons." Jack's voice was loud now. Alan's face hardened. Defensive posture. Shields at maximum. "Do not fire unless I command it." The alien ships fired first. Purple beams shot toward the human ships. The bridge crew held their breath. The beams hit the HFY Horizon's shields and scattered like water on glass. "Shields holding at 97%, reported Chief Engineer Mary Garcia. She smiled slightly. "Our new technology works." The alien ships fired again and again. Each time, the human shields held strong. "Sir, should we return fire?" asked Weapons Officer Ben Davis. Alan shook his head. "No, show them we can move." Evasive pattern Delta. The 5 Earth ships suddenly changed direction, moving in ways that seemed impossible. They spun and twisted, avoiding more attacks while staying in formation. On the alien ships, beings with blue skin and 4 eyes watched in shock. These were the Kilari, rulers of most of the galaxy for 5,000 years. No species had ever resisted their weapons before. Admiral Vexnar of the Kilari Patrol slammed his fist on his command chair. "What are these creatures? How do they resist our weapons?" His science officer had no answer. Back on the HFY Horizon, Alan made a hard choice. "We've shown them we mean no harm and can defend ourselves. We need to report this to Earth Command before we do more. All ships, prepare to jump home." The human ships turned as one and disappeared in flashes of blue light, leaving the Kilari ships alone. Far away on the planet Kelleris Prime, Emperor Xarvek received the report of the strange encounter. His yellow eyes narrowed as he watched the recording. "Find out everything about these humans," he ordered Grand Admiral Gentak. "Then destroy them before anyone else learns of this. No one challenges the Empire in lives." But as he spoke, his 6-fingered hand trembled slightly. For the first time in centuries, the Emperor felt fear. The Grand Hall on Kelleris Prime gleamed with blue crystal lights. Emperor Xarvek sat on his high throne, his blue skin wrinkled with age, and his 4 yellow eyes narrow with anger. Around him stood 12 members of the Imperial Council, all wearing fancy robes that showed their high rank. "Show me these humans again," the Emperor ordered, his voice deep and cold. Grand Admiral Gentak, a tall Kilari with battle scars on his face, nodded. He touched a control on his wrist. A large screen appeared in the air. It showed the battle with the human ships. "Look how they move," said the Admiral. "Our best ships could not hit them. And when we did, their shields did not break." His voice shook a little. In 5,000 years of war, the Empire had never seen such things. Chief Intelligence Officer Drelmore stepped forward. He was smaller than most Kilari, with dark blue skin and quick, nervous movements. "My spies have found their home world," he said. "It is called Earth. They come from only one star system. They call themselves humans." He showed a picture of humans on the screen. "They look weak. Soft skin, no claws. But their minds—" He paused. "Their minds are dangerous." The council members whispered to each other, their faces showing worry. The Emperor's chief scientist, Venlar, spoke next. She was very old, even for a Kilari, with pale blue skin and wise eyes. "They have done what we thought impossible. They bend gravity itself to move their ships. They curve energy around their shields in ways our science said could not be done." Emperor Xarvek stood up suddenly, making everyone go quiet. "You tell me a primitive species from one planet has better technology than the Empire?" His voice was like thunder. "How is this possible?" Venlar looked down. "They think differently than us, my Emperor. They found paths in science we never saw." The room went silent. What scared them most was not the human ships or shields. It was the idea that the Empire was not the best. For 5,000 years, they believed they were better than all other life. Now this belief was breaking. "If our slave worlds learn of this," said Grand Admiral Gentak, "they might think they can fight us too. We could have rebellions on hundreds of planets." The Emperor's eyes flashed with rage and fear. "Then we must destroy these humans before anyone knows. Send our biggest fleet. Burn their world until nothing lives." Far away on Earth, Commander Alan Wright stood in a large room with maps and screens on every wall. Around him sat 20 people at a round table, the United Earth Defense Council. "They fired without talking first," Alan said. He showed them the battle video. "We tried to be peaceful." Captain Greg Peterson, head of military intelligence, nodded. His eyes were sharp behind his glasses. "This tells us something important. They attacked because they were afraid." "Afraid? Of 5 ships?" asked Admiral Kate Howard, an older woman with gray hair and a stern face. "Yes," said Greg. "Only someone who feels threatened attacks that quickly. They didn't even try to talk. That's not strength. That's panic." President William Carter looked at each person around the table. He was a tall man with dark skin and a calm voice. "If they're afraid of 5 ships, what will they do when they see our full fleet?" Alan's face was serious. "They'll either run away or fight harder than ever. Either way, Earth needs to be ready." "Then we prepare for war," said the president, while still hoping for peace. Morning light streamed through the tall windows of the Earth Defense Council chamber. Everyone looked tired after talking for many hours. Their coffee cups were empty, and papers were spread across the round table. Admiral Kate Howard stood up. She was a woman with deep lines on her face from years at sea before she took command of space fleets. "We should try to talk to them again," she said firmly. "Even enemies can find peace if they try hard enough." General Frank Martinez shook his head. His thick mustache moved as he frowned. "They showed us what they want by shooting first. No one who wants peace starts with guns." The room filled with loud voices as people took sides. Some banged the table. Others pointed fingers. President Carter raised his hand for quiet. "Let's hear from Dr. Lisa Johnson," he said calmly. A small woman with short black hair and quick eyes stood up. Dr. Johnson had studied alien minds for 20 years, though this was the first real alien contact. "I've watched the battle video 50 times," she said. "I studied how they move, how quickly they attacked, everything." She took a deep breath. "These Kilari think in terms of who is stronger and who is weaker. There is no middle ground for them. They either rule or are ruled." She showed pictures of the Kilari ships. "See how they are built. All for attack, very little for defense. They expected us to fall quickly. When we didn't, they panicked." She looked at each person around the table. "They will not talk until they respect us, and they only respect strength." President Carter nodded slowly. He walked to the window and looked at the city below. People walked on streets. Children played in parks. None of them knew that aliens might come to destroy everything. He turned back to the council. "We will do both. We prepare for war with all our strength, but we also keep trying to talk." His voice became stronger. "We will offer peace with one hand, but that hand will wear armor." The next 6 months changed Earth. In orbit, giant shipyards glowed day and night. Workers built ships in endless shifts. 50 ships became 100, then 200, then 300. Dr. Nathan Wilson, a young man with wild hair and tired eyes, improved the shield technology until it was twice as strong. Dr. Susan Clark, an older woman who walked with a cane but had the sharpest mind on Earth, made the gravity drives faster and more powerful. "With these drives," she told the president, "our ships can move in ways that will seem like magic to the enemy." Earth's cities changed too. People built underground shelters. They stored food and water. Children practiced safety drills. Everyone worked together, knowing that humanity faced its greatest test. On faraway Kilaris Prime, Emperor Xarvek also prepared for war, but he did it differently. "Build more of the same ships," he ordered his generals. "Thousands of them. These humans may have clever tricks, but they cannot stand against our numbers." The emperor walked through a massive construction yard. Workers built his new flagship, the Dominance. It was huge, like a flying city, with enough weapons to destroy a planet. "When this ship is finished," he said with a cold smile, "I will go to Earth myself. I will show these humans what it means to challenge the Empire." But deep in his eyes, the fear remained. The Earth fleet gathered at the edge of our solar system, near the planet Neptune. The ships looked like silver fish in a blue sea, their lights blinking in the darkness. 300 ships, all ready for war, but hoping for peace. Admiral Alan Wright, with new stars on his uniform, stood on the bridge of the EDF horizon. He looked at the giant screen that showed all his ships in formation. "It's a beautiful sight," said Lieutenant Samantha Collins as she joined him. "The biggest fleet humans have ever built." Alan nodded. "Beautiful, yes, but I hope we don't need to use it for fighting." Samantha went back to her station. For weeks, she had been sending messages to the Kilari Empire. "Peace," the messages said in many different ways. "We want to talk." But no answer ever came back. Just silence. Alan called his top officers to the meeting room. On the table, a map of the galaxy showed the huge Kilari Empire in red. Earth was just a tiny blue dot at the edge. "We can't attack them directly," Alan said. "They have too many ships and too many worlds. We need to be smarter." He smiled. "So here's my plan." The next day, 20 small, fast ships left the main fleet. Each had a crew of only 10 people, the best pilots Earth had. They flew in different directions, heading to the far corners of the Empire. On one of these ships, the EDF Swift, Lieutenant Peter Hall sat in the captain's chair. He was young, with a quick smile and steady hands on the controls. "Ready for some fun?" he asked his small crew. "Yes, sir," they answered together. Their mission was simple but dangerous. Fly to Kilari outposts, show themselves just long enough to be seen, then run away before they could be caught. Miles away on another fast ship, the EDF Dart, Captain Linda Martinez prepared for the same mission. She was older than Peter, with dark hair streaked with gray and eyes that missed nothing. "Remember," she told her crew, "we're not here to fight. We're here to make them chase us." For the next month, these small ships appeared and disappeared all over Kilari space. They popped up near space stations, jumped past patrol ships, and sometimes even flew close to Kilari planets. Then they vanished before the Empire could catch them. The plan worked perfectly. The Kilari ships raced from place to place, trying to catch the human vessels. But they were always too late. The gravity drives made the human ships too fast. Meanwhile, the main Earth fleet stayed hidden, watching and learning. They found the Empire's trade routes, their main bases, and their weakest spots. On many planets that the Kilari ruled, people and aliens began to hear stories. Strange ships had appeared that the mighty Empire couldn't catch. Some began to wonder if the Empire wasn't so mighty after all. On Kilaris Prime, Admiral Gentak stood before the Emperor, his head bowed in shame. "We still can't catch even one of their ships," he admitted. "They appear, we send ships, then they're gone before we arrive." Emperor Exarvek's face turned dark blue with anger. "You have thousands of ships. How can you not catch them? They're too fast, my Emperor, and they seem to know where we will be before we get there." The Emperor stood up, his robes flowing around him. "Find them and destroy them, or I will find someone who can." As Admiral Gentak left the throne room, he knew his life might depend on stopping these humans, but he was beginning to wonder if anyone could. Part 5. The Revelation. Captain Linda Martinez guided her ship, the EDF Dart, through the darkness of space. Her mission was supposed to be the same as before: appear near the planet Altaris IV, let the Kilari see her, then run away. But something felt wrong. "No ships are chasing us," said her pilot, Officer Ryan Bailey. "The space around the planet is empty." Linda frowned. "That's strange. Take us closer, but be ready to jump away fast." As they approached the planet, the ship's sensors began to show data on the main screen. Linda's eyes grew wide with horror. "No life signs," she whispered. "A planet that should have millions of people, and I can't find anyone alive." She ordered a closer scan. The results were worse. Cities lay in ruins. Forests were burned. The seas were black with ash. "They killed everyone," said Officer Bailey, his voice shaking. "The whole planet." Linda's hands tightened on her chair. "Take pictures of everything. Record all the data. Then get us out of here. Earth needs to know about this." As the EDF Dart jumped away, other scout ships made similar discoveries. On 7 different planets, the Kilari had killed entire populations. Each time, it was after the local people had tried to fight against Kilari rule. When these reports reached Earth, Admiral Wright called an emergency meeting with President Carter and the Defense Council. "This changes everything," said President Carter as he looked at the pictures and data. His face was pale. "This isn't just about defending Earth anymore." Dr. Lisa Johnson studied the reports with tears in her eyes. "They killed billions of people just for wanting to be free. If they're willing to do this to their own subjects, what would they do to us?" The room was silent as everyone thought about what this meant. Then President Carter stood up. His voice was stronger than before. "The Kilari Empire is not just a threat to Earth. It's a threat to all free people in the galaxy." He looked at each person in the room. "We cannot let this continue." The next day, President Carter spoke to all of Earth through video. People watched on screens in their homes, in offices, and on big displays in city squares. "My fellow humans," he said, "we have learned that the Kilari Empire has destroyed entire worlds. They have killed billions of innocent beings whose only crime was wanting freedom." He paused. "We must now decide what kind of people we are. Will we hide and hope they don't find us? Or will we stand up for those who cannot stand for themselves?" The people of Earth answered with a roar of support. In every city, humans gathered with signs and flags. "Freedom for all," they shouted. "Stand against genocide." Admiral Wright changed the fleet's plans. Instead of one big fleet, he divided the ships into 7 groups. Each group would go to a different part of the Empire. They would help planets that wanted to break free. On Kilaris Prime, Emperor Xarvek received terrible news. 27 planets had started to fight against Imperial rule at the same time. His advisors showed him pictures of aliens tearing down Imperial flags and statues. "How is this happening?" The Emperor shouted. "How did they all decide to rebel at once?" No one had an answer. But for the first time in 300 years as Emperor, Xarvek felt real fear. Not just worry or anger, but deep, cold fear that made his hands shake. Something was coming for him, and he didn't know how to stop it. Admiral Alan Wright stood on the bridge of the EDF Horizon. Around him, his officers worked at their stations, their faces serious. The moment they had planned for months had arrived. "All ships report ready, sir," said Lieutenant Samantha Collins. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed her fear and excitement. Alan nodded. "Send the signal." All ships jumped together. Samantha pressed a button on her console. "Signal sent, sir." Alan looked at the main screen where he could see some of the other ships in his fleet. 300 ships, carrying the hopes of Earth and now many other worlds too. "Jump in 10 seconds, called the navigation officer. Alan took a deep breath. "May fortune favor the brave," he said quietly. The ships disappeared in flashes of blue light. When they appeared again, they were no longer near Earth. They were far away, arranged in a perfect circle around a blue-green planet. Kilaris Prime, the heart of the Empire. On the planet below, alarms began to sound. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Xarvek was woken from sleep by panicked servants. "What is happening?" he demanded as he rushed to the command center. "Human ships, my Emperor," said a frightened officer. "Hundreds of them. They're all around the planet." The Emperor stared at the screen showing the human fleet. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "Shoot them down. All defense stations, fire." Across space, thousands of energy beams shot from orbital stations toward the human ships. The beams hit the shields and scattered like raindrops on glass. On the EDF horizon, Alan nodded to Samantha. "Open all channels. Send our message to everyone in the system." Samantha worked at her controls. "Ready, sir." Alan stood straight and spoke clearly. "People of the Kilari Empire, I am Admiral Alan Wright of Earth. We are not here to destroy you, but to end your government's reign of terror. Your Emperor has killed billions of innocent beings across the galaxy. Today that ends." As he spoke, smaller Earth ships moved to protect civilian areas. Captain Jeff Rogers led 20 ships that positioned themselves between the Imperial fleet and the planet's cities. "No civilian targets," he ordered his ships. "We are not like them. We protect the innocent." In the Imperial Palace, chaos spread like fire. Emperor Xarvek screamed orders. "Launch the Dominance. All ships attack." But Admiral Zhen Tak, who had suffered months of blame and threats from the Emperor, had seen enough. He looked at the human fleet, then at the Emperor's mad face. He made his choice. "Security forces," he called. "Arrest the Emperor. He has led us to disaster." Guards moved toward the Emperor. Other officers drew weapons. Some sided with Zhen Tak, others with the Emperor. Fighting broke out in the palace halls. Across the galaxy, the news spread at light speed. Human fleet at Kilaris Prime. The Emperor under attack by his own people. On planets where the Kilari ruled, people looked up at the sky with hope. On worlds where rebellions had already started, fighters pushed harder against confused Imperial troops. On the EDF horizon, Alan watched the data coming in. "The Imperial fleet is not moving," reported his tactical officer. "They seem to be waiting." "And the palace?" asked Alan. "Fighting inside," said Samantha. "It looks like some kind of revolt." Alan nodded. The first step worked. Now we wait to see who wins their civil war. But he kept his ships ready. The real battle might still be ahead. For 7 hours, the battle for control of Kilaris Prime raged, not between humans and Kilari, but between Kilari fighting each other. Blue blood ran in the palace halls as Admiral Gentak's forces fought against those loyal to the Emperor. From the EDF horizon, Admiral Alan Wright watched but did not interfere. "This is their fight," he told his officers. "They must choose their own future." Finally, a message came from the planet. Admiral Gentak's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired, with a cut above one of his 4 eyes. "Admiral Wright," he said, his voice formal. "Emperor Tarvek has been removed from power. I speak now for the Kilari people. We ask for peace talks." Alan nodded. "We accept on one condition. Representatives from all worlds in your empire must be part of these talks." Gentak looked surprised but agreed. "It will be as you say." On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. Screens everywhere showed President Carter walking to a podium to address the world. "Today is not a day to celebrate victory over the Kilari," he said with a serious face. "It is a day to celebrate freedom for all thinking beings. We did not fight for conquest, but so that everyone can choose their own path." Over the next months, ships from hundreds of worlds came to Kilaris Prime. Beings of all shapes and sizes, with different numbers of eyes, arms, legs, and even some that had no solid form at all. They gathered in the great hall where the Emperor once ruled alone. Together, they created the Galactic Concord. Each world, no matter how big or small, had an equal voice. The Kilari sat at the table too, no longer as rulers but as equals. Many wanted Earth to leave the new Concord. President Carter refused. "We did not fight to replace one ruler with another," he said. "Earth will be a friend to all, but we will not rule over anyone." Instead, Earth shared its technology freely. Dr. Nathan Wilson taught scientists from many worlds how to build the special shields. Dr. Susan Clark showed them how the gravity drives worked. "Knowledge should be free," she told them. "That's the human way." Admiral Wright was offered a new job as Supreme Commander of the Concord's peacekeeping force. Many were surprised when he said no. At a ceremony on Kilaris Prime, he explained his choice to leaders from across the galaxy. "Earth did not come to stay," he said simply. "We came to break chains, not to make new ones, even good ones. The galaxy must find its own way forward." He looked at the crowd of different beings, all watching him. "The strongest chains are those we cannot see. The belief that some are born to rule and others to serve. We broke those chains together." 5 years passed. The old empire became a place of peace and sharing. People traveled between worlds freely. Art, music, and ideas flowed across space. The Kilari changed the most. Without their emperor telling them they were better than everyone else, they discovered they could create beautiful things. Their music became famous across the stars. Their cities, once cold and frightening, grew into places of light and color. On Earth, Alan Wright, now retired, sat in his garden looking at the night sky. Samantha Collins, also retired, sat beside him. "Do you think we did the right thing?" she asked. Ellen pointed to a bright star. "A ship from that world visited Earth last week. They came to share their poetry, not to fight. Yes, we did right." Samantha smiled. "The Emperor never understood, did he? In the end, our greatest weapon wasn't our shields or our ships." "No," agreed Alan. "It was something the Empire never had." "What was that?" asked a young voice. Alan's grandson stood nearby, looking at the stars. "Hope," said Alan, "and the belief that all beings deserve to be free."